So this is probably the most important video that I've done up to date in this channel. And what I'll be talking about today is about your Thrift Savings Plan, otherwise known as a TSP. Now, how you invest in your TSP can be the difference if you actually want to have a good or bad retirement. And I wish somebody would have taken the time to actually break down what the TSP is, how I can actually invest into the TSP, and how I actually retire as a millionaire in the military. But today, you're in luck. I'm going to break down what the TSP is, how it works, what kind of contributions you can make, and how you can maximize your TSP so you have the possibility to retire as a millionaire in the military. If you could do me a huge favor and take 2 seconds out of your day to hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm, it would actually help my YouTube channel tremendously, as YouTube will recommend this video to individuals that may actually benefit from this information. And with that said, let's get started. So what exactly is a TSP? Now, the TSP is a retirement savings and investment plan for federal employees and members of the uniformed services, to include the Ready Reserve. Now, the TSP is actually enacted by Congress under the Federal Employees Retirement Act of 1986, and it was designed to offer the same types of savings and tax benefits that many private organizations offer their employees under a 401k plan. The TSP is a defined contribution plan, meaning that the retirement income you receive from your TSP account will solely depend on how much you actually contribute into your account during your working years and how much time it has had to actually build over time. Now, once you're actually hired by the federal government or join the military, you are automatically enrolled into the TSP after 60 days of service. At that time, your service will start deducting 5% of your base pay every pay period and deposit that into your TSP traditional balance account. Now, you're also eligible to receive matching contributions either by your agency or your service, which can mean thousands of dollars additionally deposited into your TSP account. However, you do not get the full match if you don't contribute at least 5%. Now, additionally, from being deducted 5% automatically, you will also be enrolled into your life cycle, otherwise known as an L fund, that's more appropriate for your age. Now, L funds offer a simple, low maintenance way of actually investing your money, but how do you actually make contributions into your TSP account? Well, you have two options. You can do traditional or Roth or Bells actually. Now, traditional contributions are pre-tax, meaning that you are delaying to pay taxes on that money until you actually start withdrawing from your TSP account. However, if you elect to do Roth contributions, which are after tax, that means that you actually pay taxes on the contributions and your earnings are tax-free when you withdraw them, as long as it meets certain IRS requirements. So TSP actually offers separate ways that you actually can invest your money for retirement. You could either use life cycle funds that you are automatically enrolled, or you can use individual funds. However, let's talk a little bit more about the life cycle funds. So a life cycle fund, or L fund, is a diversified fix of 5 core accounts, either known as G, F, C, S, and I funds. Now, the L funds, or life cycle funds, are designed to let you invest your entire portfolio into a single L fund and get the best expected return for the amount of the expected risk that is appropriate for you. For every quarter, the L funds automatically adjust their allocations as they're gradually shifted from high risk to high reward, all the way down to low risk, low reward as they get closer to their target dates. Now, once they reach their objective date, the L fund will actually become an L income fund, which now actually focuses on preserving your assets and not so much on growth, which is actually best for individuals who are actively withdrawing from their TSP for retirement. Now, let's say you actually want to have more control of your own TSP accounts and actually manage your money more in depth than the actual L fund. You have the ability to actually allocate the money yourself into 5 individual core accounts. Now, these core accounts or individual funds can actually range from the US Treasury securities all the way to the stock market. Now, the 5 actual individual funds is the G, the F, the C, the S, and the I. So the G fund is Government Securities Investment Funds, and this fund actually ensures the preservation of capital and generates returns above those of the short-term US Treasury securities. However, the G fund has a return year-to-date of 1.12%, which is actually a lot lower than inflation. Now, the F fund is a fixed income index investment fund, and it matches the performance of the Bloomberg's Barclays US Aggregate Bond Index. However, it hasn't been doing so well this year, since it has a return year to date at negative 1.44%. Now, the C fund is known as the Common Stock Index Investment Funds, and it matches the performance of the Standard & Poor's 500, or other known as the S&P 500 Index Fund. However, the C Fund has had an amazing return year to date at 24%. The S Fund is the Small Cap Stock Index Investment Fund, and it matches the performance of the Dow Jones US Completion Total Stock Market Index, and it has a good return of year to date of 17%. The I Fund, or the International Stock Index Investment Fund, was designed to match the performance of international countries, and it has a return year to date at 11%. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that TSP actually charges fees to meet their expenses. Now, while cost is only one of the several factors that you have to take in consideration when actually making your investments, as it can actually delay the growth of your account. However, the expense ratios on these individual funds or L-cycle funds are actually pretty low, that I think they don't really make a huge difference in your account, but you should be aware of it. Like, let me give you an example, the F Fund. Now, the F Fund in 2020 had an expense ratio of 0.06%. So if you invest $1,000 in the F Fund, you would have paid 60 cents toward fund expenses. So if you had invested $100,000, you would have paid $60. Now, take in mind, everybody pays the same percentage. So the larger your share of the fund, the larger your share of the expenses. Now that I explained what the TSP is, how you can contribute to it, and the type of funds that you can allocate your contributions, let's talk about how you can maximize your TSP. Now, before we get started, I do want to say that this is not financial advice. This is just for entertainment purposes, and I recommend that you do your own research before you actually start moving your money into your TSP account. Now, when it comes to actually reaching your retirement goals, it is important to maximize your saving. And you can start by actually making sure you're not leaving free money on the table. Now, by being part of the military or an employee by the federal government, they will actually automatically enroll you to take 5% of your base pay and move it to your TSP account. And the government will match 5% as well. However, that TSP matching contribution will actually be allocated to your traditional balance of your TSP account. So you still need to pay taxes when you withdraw that money, but that is still free money that the government is giving you. So what I would do, I would make sure that at a minimum, I would keep that 5%. In order for your account to be fully vested as a military service member, you actually have to serve 2 years so you can take full ownership of the government contributions. Now, if you were to get medically separated, retire, or just plain out get out before those 2 years, you would actually have to give those matching contributions back to the government. Now, by correctly managing and allocating your funds appropriately in the TSP account, you can actually retire as a millionaire in the military. And if you don't believe me, let's do the math. Now, using this basic compound interest calculator, we can do a quick estimate. Now, let's assume that you join the Air Force at 20 years old and you contribute $200 a month for 20 years. Which is the equivalent to military retirement eligibility. Now with the average annual return over the last 10 years from the C Fund, which follows the S&P 500 at 16%, you would have contributed $48,000 in 20 years of military service, which in retrospect is not that much. However, thanks to the return and compounding of the fund, you will grow your account from $48,000 all the way to $276,911,000, which can be viewed as a small amount for your retirement. Based on our example that we're using, you will be 40 years old, meaning that your TSP can grow for another 20 years before you can actually start withdrawing it. Now, let's say you left the military service at 20 years. Now, assuming we leave the same rate of return of 16%, you could retire with a whopping $5,388,898. Now, take in mind, this is just a basic example with fixed numbers, so this doesn't account for inflation, promotions, or any raises that you receive while you're employed by the federal government or the military service. Now, if you have any questions about the TSP, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will promise I will try my best to get you the answer or help you in your TSP venture. Now, if you like or you found this video helpful, you can do me a huge favor, hit the like button so YouTube can push this video to a different audience who can benefit from this information. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. As always, it's been a pleasure, and see you guys next time.